Hey guys, this is Awesome John 22 coming at you today with another review, this time of Transformers 4 Age of Extinction Leader Class Grimlock. I am a huge Grimlock fan. When I heard he was going to be in the movie, I was super psyched. And while I'm not always a huge fan of the Movieverse figures, while I'm not a huge fan of the Movieverse designs overall every single time, I think some of them are kind of hit and miss. I really love what they're doing with this guy and the other Dinobots, making them knights. I think it's fantastic. And I think Grimlock in particular looks really, really great. Cannot wait to see him in the movie. The question, though, is, does this figure live up to Grimlock? Is it a figure worth buying? We all know by now, because I'm really late with these reviews, despite the fact that I am actually reviewing these figures fairly soon after their release compared to most of my other reviews. But we all know there are two versions of this character already out in figure form. This and a Voyager class figure, and the Voyager class figure is a better looking figure overall, and a lot of people prefer him, and for very good reason. And I'm here today to tell you guys that maybe you should take a second look at this guy, because he's not as bad as you think. And I'm going to do my very best today to explain to you why I feel this way. As usual, we are going to start by taking a look at his alt mode, which in this case is a freaking Tyrannosaurus Rex. Hand of applause for that. Okay, I'm never going to do that again, I promise. So let's go ahead and get him transformed through the power of jump cuts. And this being a review of a Beast Transformer, first of all, we're going to take a look at a lot more in the alt mode than we would on, say, a car Transformer or the likes. We're going to get to look at some articulation and whatnot. So, getting a close look at Grimlock here, you can see he doesn't look too bad. There have been a lot of complaints about this figure, and I certainly see where they're coming from, but if you look here, the way I've got him posed, standing higher up instead of stretching his body out horizontally, he actually doesn't look too bad. His proportions are still pushed forward a little too much, as many other reviewers have said, and many of you, I'm sure, have seen in screenshots and whatnot, but overall he looks pretty good. But I mean, that chrome, guys, that chrome, I hate it. I don't like chrome on figures. And it could be worse. My lights are actually reflecting off of it quite a bit. You can see chrome all through here, all through his head. Great jeweled eyes. I just want to point that out before I forget. But the chrome is everywhere. It's everywhere. I mean, not really. It's just right there and on his head. But it's chrome for chrome's sake, and I don't like it. Go away, chrome. No. I just wish. Like, look at this. This really nice gold that makes up his lower back and tail. Why couldn't that have continued up through here? That would have been awesome. It would look so good. But I'm freaking out a little too much. Let's move on to articulation. He has little dinky T-Rex arms that can move in two spots. He can rotate at his hips and at his knees, and a little bit at his feet. So you can get a whole mess of poses out of this guy. You can pose him however you want. To show you what everybody's talking about, his head, if you stretch out his head, you can see why some people really don't like this figure. But like I said, just you kind of fold these little flaps up and straighten him up a little bit. And I think he looks perfectly reasonable, and he's definitely quite big. Let's bring in a new deluxe class figure, which they're a bit smaller than other deluxes, but it still gives you a decent size comparison. So you can see he stands pretty tall, and hopefully I'll have some screenshots at the end of this video that'll show off something else that his size allows him to do, but you'll have to wait and see. It's a surprise. It's a surprise for you guys. But yeah, so you can see he's a pretty big T-Rex, and while I think, I mentioned this in the haul video where I showed off getting this guy and the others, that if I had had the choice, I probably would have picked up the Voyager, but they didn't have it. And really, though, even though the Voyager's T-Rex mode looks a little bit better, the way I have this guy set up like this, I I'm actually liking this T-Rex mode. Not better, but almost as much, at least based on the pictures of the other figure that I've seen. And I think when we get to the robot mode, which will be coming along shortly, obviously, you'll understand why I'm actually kind of happy that I got this figure over the other one. His head should be a little bit bigger. Like, his jaw should probably come down to here and his nose out to here. Speaking of his jaw, he does have a chompy jaw. Me, Grimlock, have chompy jaw. No, I'm never going to do that again. I promise. Anyway. Yeah. Head should be a little bit bigger. Taking a look down here, you can see his body's quite wide, and he has this gap through here, which is partially covered by these, but as you can see, mine are bent. I'm very upset about that. They're that soft, rubberized plastic, and the way they were sitting in packaging, they had been bent and warped, and while it makes him look kind of gnarled, it's still damage to the figure, and that kind of pisses me off. I'm sure a lot of you can understand that. A lot of you other collectors out there. Kids, I don't think would mind, like, buying this as a toy, but there are so many figures in this line that are meant just for kids. I can't see parents picking this up for kids very often. Hear my dogs in the background there, as per usual with my reviews. So, anyway, that is the T-Rex mode. I think it looks fine. I think it looks actually quite good, depending on how you pose it. I tried playing around with it, looking for some additional optional transformation bits, thinking maybe the instructions were a little off and his proportions could get better with transformation, but there's really not much you can do. This is the best I've found, but I think it works out for the best. So moving on to transformation, let's start by straightening out his dinky little T-Rex arms. They're so dinky. We'll straighten those out, put them against this panel here, on both sides of course, and then we're going to kind of fold these out to get them out of the way a little bit, because don't want to warp them any more than they're already warped. And we're going to straighten out his head, leave the flaps up. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I leave the flaps up. Come here to his back, and just kind of wriggle this whole bit off, and it's really stiff because it fits on these little chromed pegs. And of course the chrome has made the pegs thicker, and that's actually a problem a couple spots on this figure. We'll get to that in a minute. We come here, and we're going to split this, which is the second place where it becomes a problem, because there are chrome pegs again in this back bit, and so you kind of have to, I'm trying to do this from behind the camera, I've never done it, there we go. You have to kind of wiggle it, loosen it, and then just give it a good pull. Exactly like I just did, you guys saw it. And we're going to come here. You can see there's the two, wait, the camera will focus. There we go, two chromed pegs. Unfold this, you can kind of see where his transformation's going already. Come under here, and this, sorry, I fumbled my camera a little bit. You can see these are actually pegged in right there on the legs and right there on the legs. Holds everything together very nicely. This kind of seems like it is a little bit of a, I don't know, cluster F transformation, but it really isn't. Everything holds together very, very well. And anyway, come here, and I almost forgot, unpeg his legs from this post that has the head on it. Bring the head up kind of out of the way. Bring these down first, these back pieces. Well, they will be back pieces. They're part of his underbelly right now. Bring those down, and then bring this up just to kind of get it out of the way. Have it rest kind of like that. Moving on to the legs. The legs actually are very cool. I like the legs a lot. We're going to lower this down a little bit. I think that's what we do. No, we're going to leave it up. Never mind. We're going to leave it up. And we're going to fold this in, and you can see this kind of round area is going to fit into that round area, and it does that on both sides. And we're going to come here to the foot, and we're going to rotate it, pop that right out, rotate it, then bring this bit around, and see that slot right there. If I can line it up, again, doing this for the first time from behind the camera, peg it in like that, there we go. Bring these over to kind of fill in the leg. And turn it around, bring the foot around and bring out his little toe point. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, and this is kind of a big, cumbersome figure, so forgive me if I don't get the second leg in frame too well. You already saw it once. You'll be alright. And bring that around. Bring this around. And there we go. Super simple. Way simpler than I was making it. That's for sure. There you have his legs. Finished. You can see very, very long, skinny legs. Coming at the top here, we are going to make sure these rubbery bits are not in the way, and then we're just going to bring this entire section down, revealing his head. Bring the camera up just a little bit more. Then we're going to come here, and we're going to wiggle these loose. As you can see, more, move my light just a little bit. There we go. More chromed pegs. Makes it kind of hard to get everything in place, but with a little bit of finagling you can do it. We're going to wiggle these out, move them, give them a nice push, snap it in so that this whole area here is just moved back, bringing his arms into the correct shoulder position. Come to his back here, you can see peg hole there, peg on the this trunk that has the head on it, pegs into place. Very, very simple. Doesn't flop. And his head does transform more than that. Don't start commenting now. And we're going to bring his feet up, bring his arms around, bring his hand into position. Do the same thing over here. Foot up, arm around, hand into position. And now to one of my favorite parts of the transformation. Come up to the head here. Just kind of finagle it in half. So you can see two halves of a head now. Bring them down. Then we're going to bring the jaw up. And it's going to peg in right there. Lay it down. Bring the jaw up. Going to peg in right there. Bring it down. And now you have his, what do you call those? I mean, on the shoulder, your pauldrons? Are they pauldrons? Probably horribly wrong. Now we're going to bring these gray rubbery bits up and plug them in there and there. Oops. Fumble counter is going to be high on this one, guys. Yeah, put them into place there, so they're kind of binding everything together. And there you have Age of Extinction leader class Grimlock. And I think, despite the chromed out chest that I just do not like at all, and a few snafus with the articulation and the skinny legs, let's see, profile. Very little kibble, by the way. Also, just before I start getting into stuff, you can bring these up to kind of fill in the back. I actually kind of like that, so let's do that. There we go. I think this robot mode is absolutely fantastic. I think it looks great. I think it would look great with, again, this really pretty gold that's in his head carrying down into the chest with that instead of the chrome, but I can't really say anything about it. I think it looks good. Either way, I'm really enjoying it, actually. For another size comparison real quick, let's bring in the same deluxe. You can see he grows a lot. He gets very, very big during his transformation. It's mostly in the legs, because the legs are so long. Articulation, real quick, head sculpt. I love the head sculpt on this. Same jeweled eyes, you can see. Very, very pretty, and no light piping. That light you're seeing is just reflections from my lighting setup here. He looks like he's wearing like knight's armor, which seems to be pretty par of the course for the movie Dinobots. He has good ratchets in the shoulders. And here's the first snafu with his articulation. His arms only go those two positions, and then you can move them up more once you get out there, but there's no like midway ratchet there. I don't even think ratchet's the right word. I could probably open that up. Fumbled my camera again. God, guys. But no, I could probably open that up. There's a screw right there. And shave something down and allow it to move more freely, but I'm not going to. At least, not yet. Good ratchets in the shoulders. Rotating, or not the shoulders, the elbows. Blah, blah, blah. Rotating wrists. Rotating legs. Ratchets in the knee. And his feet do have articulation, but it's really stiff, so I'm not going to do it because I don't want to risk popping anything out of place. But that's his articulation. He has his weapons, which are made up of this bit here. You just kind of wiggle them apart and come here, push and pull this black bit out, and then fold these really kick-ass spikes into position. We're going to come here and this tab here plugs into the slot here and gives him this really cool spiked death shield thing that probably has a name, but I don't know what it is. Then we have this, which I think this is really cool. I don't know if anybody else has pointed this out, but this assembly can actually work as a sword, like the classic Grimlock sword. Just wanted to point that out. But it also becomes the, I believe it's called the Dragon Tooth mace, even though he's a dinosaur. You just kind of fold it around. And now he has this really cool mace that he can hit you with. And that just, him all kitted out like that, and it all holds in place very well. Even the shield, which looks cumbersome, it holds in place very, very well. All kitted out, this guy just ends up looking even better. And I really like it. I really like this robot mode. And in fact, the amount to which I like, the level to which I enjoy this robot mode really makes up for any misgivings I have about the beast mode. And I think it should for you too, if you are a fan of this character, if you're a fan of this design, if you're a fan of the movie designs in general. I think you should at least give this figure more than just a cursory glance. At least consider picking it up. I know it's a little bit steep, paying almost $50 for this thing, but I like it. I think it's worth the money, and it is a very well-sized Grimlock. Show you here with the next figure I'm going to be reviewing, the Evasion Mode Optimus Prime. You can see that's about the scale to which I would expect Optimus and Grimlock to be. And I mean, that's just great. But really, it's up to you guys. I'm not gonna say this is the best figure of the line because it's far from it. In fact, I'd still say somebody doing the lawn outside my apartment. I apologize for that, if you guys can hear that. I think in terms of like design-wise overall, the Voyager class figure is probably a better figure. But this one is still very, very cool and definitely worth taking a look at. So guys, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you feel so inclined. In the description below is a link to my blog, as well as to my collections video. Check out the latter if you see anything that you would like me to review. Let me know and I'll see what I can do. This has been AwesomeJohn22, and I will talk to you guys later.